Your brain is divided into two halves, positive and negative, good and evil. It don't function on nothing else. Ain't no neutral ground in your brain. It's either positive and good or negative and evil. Each half of your brain has millions of factory workers on each side. You got 1 million factory workers on the positive side. You got 1 million factory workers on the negative side. At the forefront of each one of those factories in your brain is a foreman. You got foreman positive and you got foreman negative. You are in charge. You're the boss of the factory.
I have this thing where I say self-love is the cure to self-hate. And I'll say it again. Self-love is the cure to self-hate. Now, what I'm about to say is not with the intentions of getting everyone to separate from family, from marriages or relationships. If anything, this should inspire you to stay in it if you're happy, and if you want to be happier while in your relationship, this will help hopefully to establish having more of a bottom line and setting boundaries according to the relationship that you're in. So here we go. Everything that I do, everywhere I go, every meeting and conversation that I have, every phone call that comes into my cell, every text message, every invite. I get text messages with invites to this club, this private mansion party, this and that, all the above. I'm just not interested. Because at 35 years old, I'm a grown-ass man. And me being a grown-ass man, I will say this. Everything that I do at this point is connected to two things. Number one, how much do you love yourself? Because if you understand the value of self-love, then you would never fuck with a girl like that. You would never fuck with a dude like that. You'll never be friends with those type of people or ever accept any invites that has to do with this or that. I already know how you're going to make me feel because I've hung out with you before and you've already made me feel that way multiple times. So you continue to invite me and I continue to show up because I'm desperate to have friends. I'm desperate for the validation of all of these people being around me, feeding me, feeding me, feeding me. I ain't shit until you tell me that I'm the shit. I don't love me until you tell me that you love me. I don't like me until you tell me that you like me. Most of the people out here are running around empty. They have no sense of self, no sense of self-love. When I say self-love, it has nothing to do with celebrity, money, materialistic things, and all of the things that your negative mind could probably go to. It has nothing to do with self-love. It has nothing to do with looks, nothing to do with cars and any of the superficial things that one would assume that could make you love yourself even more. It's a matter of knowing your value. It's a matter of you saying, I don't have to be around these people in these type of environments and situations in order for me to finally see the value in myself. I love me independent of you loving me. I believe in me. I know my self-worth. I know clearly that I'm a child of God. And God has a purpose over my life, and if he didn't, I wouldn't be here anymore. And I don't need you to tell me that. I don't need you to validate me. When you give me compliments, it inspires me to keep going. But you're not the reason I'm doing this. The comments, the feedback, the energy is not the reason I do what I do. I am here and I have a purpose. There is no value in having wisdom, knowledge, insight, spirituality, love, and having all of this stuff that I'm aware of. And I'm not perfect. I've had flaws. Every day I am a work in progress. But what is the point in me being successful, traveling the world, having money, cars, and all the things that I currently possess, knowing that there's a lot of people out there that look up to me and inspired by me, not because of my looks, not because of just my talents, but now that y'all are getting to know me on such a personal level, y'all know that I'm a thinking man. I have a heart with views, perspectives, insight, information, spirituality, wisdom that God continues to drop down on me, as well as wisdom that God continues to send people. God sends me people to drop wisdom and insight on me. And I'll be like, oh, that was crazy. It changes my life every single time. So as soon as the information is passed on to me, it is not an opportunity to do a video. It is a responsibility. So let's get back to what I was saying. Self-love is the cure to self-hate. I don't like you, I don't trust you, and I know you talking shit about me from behind my back. So why would I ever fuck with you? Why would anybody who truly loves themselves hang out with or mess with those type of people? Now, here are the worst type of people in the world to me. The people who literally hate your guts and dislike you, and you don't have a clue that they feel this way about you, because they're able to cover up all of their malicious energy and intentions towards you without giving you no trace that they don't fuck with you. And then when you finally find out, you're like, oh shit, you've been saying this and doing this and you feel this way about me? I had no clue. But when people show you who they are and you see it to the point where you're able to talk about it, can you believe what she said about me? Can you believe that? And you're able to talk about it. Then you get an invite from this same person that you was just sitting over dinner crying about the following week, and you show up. You don't love yourself for you to be hanging out with these type of people. Nobody who loves themselves would ever entertain the idea of ever fucking with these people. You don't think they talking about you? So when people show you who they are, you gotta believe it. And you have to make the adjustments according to all of these things that are revealed to you. Other than that, you become another person that's desperate to fuck with family. And your family is mean, evil, spiteful, condescending, and messed up. But you're so desperate for the validation. That's my family, you know what I'm saying? You know, I know they be mean, talking about me and my wife and my kids, and they all mean and fucked up, but you know that's family, right? That's family? That's family. Oh, so they're allowed to tear you down because it's family. Doing cuts me even deeper because we actually have the same blood in our bloodstream. I would much rather a random person in the street talk shit about me and tear me down than my own family. So guess what? I love me. I see the value in me. And I have to be careful of who and what I give emotional access to me. This is beyond important, y'all. The number 2 priority, all day, every day, is my daughter. What does that mean? That means that I don't love nobody as much as I love my daughter. My daughter has gave me a bottom line. My daughter has created new standards for me. My daughter has changed my life forever. I didn't know what love was until she got here. What does that mean? It means that you will never see me in a random club. You will never see me at dinner if my dinner isn't purpose-driven. You will never see me hanging out or doing anything with anybody. I don't care who you are, how much money you're worth. I have visions, I have ideas, and I have goals. Now, I believe in connecting with people on a human level, but I am very mission and goal-oriented. That's who I am. And so I would much rather stay at home than to be hanging out at clubs and doing a bunch of random shit that's not connected to producing results. Because I don't need friends. I don't need to just be around a bunch of people doing a bunch of random shit because I'm like a boxer that needs my validation. Feed you the man, you the champ, you sexy, you this, you that. As a matter of fact, after a while it gets annoying. Because you go to a restaurant, you got people walking up to you 5, 6, 7 times while you trying to conduct business, asking for a photo or autograph or something. So shit, let me stay at home. I've never claimed to be the biggest star. Never claimed to be the most successful or having the most money. I'm just me. There's a lot of very talented, sexy, and attractive people running around here, but they don't have this mind, views, perspective, insight, and information. And so I'm passing it off to you. And I'm saying there's levels to this shit. And you can't get to the next level with all of the devils that you have in your life. You got so many negative, mean, evil, malicious, and dysfunctional people in your life and around your circles. This is the reason why you can't clear out the clutter and get to the next level.
Success breeds contempt. You'll know you're winning when they start hating you.
See, many people, they think that when they face resistance, that somehow now that God has left them. Because if you're not facing resistance, maybe it's an indication that you're going in the same direction as your enemy.
If nobody's hating you over it, it's not big enough. You'll know it's big enough when they start hating you for it. And nothing you do satisfies them. And nothing you do calms them down. That's a sign that you're getting ready to get in a net-breaking blessing.
Think of it like this. For every peace stealer you allow in your life, you are 20% more likely to live stressed, to have a crisis. I'm asking you to find happy friends. I'm not saying you have to cut people off, never speak to them again. I am saying you should put up some boundaries. You don't have to make a big announcement. Just little by little, spend less and less time with that person. If you don't get the wrong people out of your life, you'll never meet the right ones.
You got to look for the good. You don't have to look for bad in life, but you have to look for the good. Well, my friend really disappointed me, but at least I learned to put my hope in God more than in people.
Get yourself situated. Pick the right location to live in. Get your marriage ready, because God's going to bless you until the devil leaves.
The people who are closest to you need to be stable, happy, responsible people that move you towards your destiny. Like iron sharpens iron, you make each other better. Who do you have in your life? What are you giving your time and energy to? Trying to keep someone happy, feeling guilty because you can't meet their demands? That's going to wear you out. It's time to make a change. You can't please everyone.
You got to surround yourself with people who have talents and skills, not just people who love you. I'm glad you love me, but loving me won't bring these fish in. I want to know, can you carry some weight? I'm talking about somebody who can carry the weight when the net is about to break. You are carrying so much weight and so much responsibility that you are at the breaking point. And you can't even tell anybody that you're at the breaking point because you have a Superman complex and you're trying to be there for everybody. But the reality is the weight of what you're doing is breaking your neck.
Do you define yourself by your emotions? Do you define yourself by your status? Do you define yourself by your lowest point? Do you define yourself by your highest achievement? All of that is dangerous. Because the moment you start believing that you are what you do or you are what you went through, there's a bleeding on the inside that happens when your sense of self-worth flows from what you do and what you go through.
You can't become so dependent on people that you're getting your worth and value out of how they treat you. It's easy to become addicted to compliments, addicted to encouragement, addicted to them cheering you on. Now you rely on them to keep you feeling good about yourself, to make you feel approved. Like a drug, if they don't keep you fixed, meet all your expectations, you get discouraged. The problem is you're trying to get from people what only God can give. Your worth, your value doesn't come from another person, it comes from your Creator. If you rely on people, you'll be disappointed. People will let you down. Sometimes people will even turn on you.
You have no idea what's in you. Do you have any idea what God has invested in you that you haven't even touched yet? Do you understand that the problem that you're grappling with right now is not even the issue? It's just training for you. The lion that you're fighting with now is not even the issue. God just allowed the lion to come in your life so you'd have something to work on. The lion is not important. It doesn't even matter. God is training you with the lion. God doesn't even care about the lion. He cares about you. He's using the problem to get you ready, to teach you patience, to teach you how to trust Him with no money. He's prepping you for the next release of glory so that when folks start walking out, they can walk out if they want to. You say, I know how to do that too.
There's so much we're learning right now. We may not know we've learned it until way on the other side of it. You don't really realize life lessons until later. You know that, right? It's later that you say, oh, it was good for me that I was afflicted. Oh, it's good for me that they told me no. And it's later that we see the lessons. A lot of times it's later that we see the lessons.
Why don't you let the people in your life off the hook? Maybe they did the best they could. They may have made decisions that you don't understand. Feels like it puts you at a disadvantage, but you didn't have to walk in their shoes. Bottom line, nobody owes you anything. God is keeping all the records. He has seen everything that's happened in your life. The injustice, the person that did you wrong, those people cannot pay you back. They cannot make you whole. Only God can.
The lesson of letting go is not only that external events cause us to let go, the way God changes us is transformation from the inside out. Isn't that really relevant while you're stuck inside? That's the way God changes things?
Quit trying to get somebody to apologize, to admit they were wrong, to give you what they don't have. If you'll go to God, He'll bring you out better. He'll make the rest of your life more rewarding, more fulfilling than it would have been if that hadn't have happened in the first place.
You gotta grow. You gotta expand. You gotta know that you're here for a purpose. There are no mistakes. There is a meaning. Even if you haven't found it yet, you must discover it. And you know what? For most people, they don't discover the meaning of their life until their life is over, or until somebody very close to them that they love is about to leave them. You don't have to wait for the pain to discover the meaning.
It first starts with decision on your part. And may I add, well, you should decide. Why let worry continue to take money out of your pocket and bank account? Why let worry any longer keep you from becoming all you can be? Why let it rob you of better friendships, better family relations, better profits, better results? It's a burden you can get rid of. Why not be rid of those sinking, nagging feelings that all is not going to be well, that you can't do it, that it won't work out for the best. Worry is undue concern that takes up too much of your mental and emotional time.
So how will I know when I found the purpose of my life? You decide what it is. You discover it and you decide this is it. Maybe later on I'll refine it. I probably will, but for right now, this is why I'm playing the game of life. This is what it's about. Every day, if I'm just being this way, if I'm just doing these kinds of simple things, then I know I'm on track. I know there's a reason for my existence.
And so although you may believe it to be true about you, these doubts and negative thoughts you have, these were not your original thoughts. That's a powerful thing to understand because you weren't born this way. You weren't born doubting. You were born perfect. You were born believing you were going to do something great. You were born believing you were going to do something special with your life. As a baby, I promise you, you had no negative self-talk. You had no negative self-doubt. These are external sources. There's somebody else's thoughts they gave you because of how they felt about themselves.
If you're offering words of wisdom to someone in the genuine attempt to help and they treat that with contempt, then shut up because you're demeaning your words by throwing them away.
Self-confidence is self-trust. Self-confidence is building a reputation with yourself that you keep your word to you, that you keep the promises you make to you. Somebody with self-confidence has a reputation with themselves that I do the things I say I'm going to do. And so the cool thing is, self-confidence is an internal game. You do not need external accolades, external admiration in order to build self-confidence. You don't need any of those external forces. It's all done internally. You control this. And you control this by beginning today to keep the promises you make to yourself. It's not good enough just to keep the promises you make to yourself. You must acknowledge it when you do it to you to give yourself credit to create confidence momentum.
Expect the constituents and the comrades to leave you and desert you after a while. Don't be upset when they don't react to your dream the way you expected them to, because they were never really with you in the first place.
The Bible says a man is as he thinketh. If you live your life in expectations, that's what happens to you. If you live your life in despair, that's what happens to you. If you say all men are dogs, you're going to meet every last one of them. I'll never be rich. You won't. You won't. The moment you change the frequency that your tower emits, the moment you change that frequency, different things come back to you. If you change your attitude, you change your altitude.
I think the biggest vulnerability you've got is you actually value somebody's opinion more than you value your own. Like, the reason I've been able to always do my thing is when I was 24 and people were like, oh, you work at your dad's liquor store? Like, I heard that as like a chip on my shoulder, you know? I loved it. I was like, cool, keep sleeping on me, you know? Like, I'm glad you're on Wall Street making $100,000 buying BMWs and dumb jewelry. I'll see you in 30 years. You understand? Like, to me, the way you win is you realize you can't hear nobody, not your parents. I mean, listen, you gotta listen to coach and all that. I get it, but at the end of the day, my guy, yourself. You gotta get real quiet up here. I can't hear anything. You go look at my Instagram right now, my first post, I'll post something, first 100 replies in 1 second. You're Jesus, you walk on water, you're the best, you're the all-time. Can't hear him. The next 100, you're a piece of, you're full of, you're a snake oil salesman. Can't hear him. I'm in my own mind, doing my own thing. And that comes with self-esteem. Everybody's trying to keep up with the Joneses. I'm not worried about you being in the Hamptons on a blow-up Swan. I'm not worried about you renting out cash from the bank and putting it to your ear. I'm not worried you jumped a fence and took a photo in front of a private plane. What do you think these people are doing? They're posing. Patience, long game. You know what's amazing about being an entrepreneur? We get to play forever. Right? I'm gonna be working with them.
Like, what are women just drowning in? Like, what is crushing women other people's opinions?
They know.
They live their life terrified of failure, terrified to try, terrified that they're getting it wrong because their mother-in-law will disapprove, or the girls that they went to high school with, or, you know, they're gonna see me on Facebook and they're gonna watch me. It's crazy. It's crazy because those people that you're so terrified of their opinion of you, those people are not the ones who will live with the regret. Yeah. Those people are not the ones who can't afford to take their kids on vacation. Those people are not the ones who are struggling for, like, all these things that you want for your life, but you're too afraid to reach for because of what other people will think. Those other people are not going to be there when it sucks and it's hard for you. That's all on you. Wow. So I get so fired up about this topic. And I also believe, like, so most little boys, I know not everybody, but most little boys are taught this idea of, like, you have potential. You're supposed to reach for that potential or try and be a better version of yourself. And frankly, most little girls are taught, you know, to reach for men. Like, hey, find yourself a husband and then you'll be doing well. And this, I believe in my heart. Like, have you ever seen those movies? Of course you have. Where, like, someone, like, gets bit by a spider, or they take a pill or whatever, and all of a sudden they have access to all of their mind instead of just a small percent. I feel like that's what's happening to women in the world. Like, if they just took, like, even if the smallest percentage of women, even if just the women who are listening to this, took one single step in the direction of who God calls them to be, I think that the results would be atomic.
My God.
I appreciate every facet of life, right? But I also believe life is the best classroom. And so I'm very cognizant of the situations, circumstances, and I firmly believe, as Sean stated, the one thing we all have in common as people is we all will face some level of adversity. And so something pretty cool happened last week when I was in Seattle, and I'm going to get to that. But first I want to explain to you the card that I have in my hand. In my house, I have a bowl, right? And I call it a quote bowl, right? Because I believe it's very important before you start your day to set the environment, to set the mood. Because you can get up and just start running, and then you run out of the door, life hits you in the face, and before you know it, you woke up, you were on top of the world, now the world is on top of you. And so every single morning, me and my kids and my wife, we go to this bowl, and we grab a quote card, and we read it, right? And we put it in whatever bag we have, and we take it out of the door with us, and when I travel, I keep them with me as well. And today, the quote says, do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better, by Maya Angelou. Right? That's my gift to you, Sean. Can't ever say I didn't give you nothing, man. Right? But I was in Seattle, and a guy came to pick me up last week, and, you know, when he picked me up, it was around midnight. And so we probably said maybe 3 or 4 words to each other. It was late. And when we got to the hotel, I thanked him, and he said to me, I'll be the guy that's coming back to pick you up in the morning to take you to your event. We talked about the time. I said, okay, cool, I'll see you in the morning. And so when I came down the next morning, guy stood outside his car, we spoke, we get in the car, and we're riding for 5 minutes. And I look in the mirror, and I can see the guy is crying. And so as I'm sitting in the back seat, I say to him, is everything okay? And he shakes his head kind of like, man, like you're not going to believe it, right? And he said, my normal job, I don't drive, but my buddy owns the company. And he said, whenever he gets overwhelmed, he might call me and say, hey, man, can you cover a shift for me? And he said, usually I'll tell him, no, I'm cool, right? Because you meet people and sometimes it's just not the situation. And he said, I hadn't drove for him in probably 11 months. And he said, for some reason, when he called me yesterday, I was like, cool, I'll take it. And he said, I looked you up after I dropped you off, and I saw this video about redirection, right, at 3 in the morning. And he said, it gave me purpose. He said, but the reason I'm crying is because I just lost my wife. right? And when he said it, I thought to myself, like, how do you smile after that? Right? Because I know every single day I look at my wife and what my wife means to me. And even when I lost my grandmother, I thought to myself, would I ever be able to smile and laugh again? And so I posed a question to him. How did you get up and simply put one foot in front of the other and walk out of the door and continue your routine? He said, well, I got 2 daughters. He said, before I get to that, I want to tell you something, because it wasn't like it was all good the whole process, and my wife had been sick for over 30 years. Right? And he said, we got to a point in the sickness to where we hit a rough patch. And he said, she would scream at me, I would scream at her, and I felt as if I was trapped in a situation, and the Creator knew I couldn't leave the situation. And so I would say to the Creator, you know I can't leave, and my wife is sick. You know I can't go anywhere. You know I can't leave her because she's my wife, and I can't go anywhere, so I gotta sit here and I gotta deal with it. And I resented the situation, I resented my wife, I resented the adversity, and we found ourselves in a point to where I ended up leaving. And he said, I went to stay with one of my buddies, and I'm in the mirror one morning and I'm brushing my teeth, and he said, I'm saying to myself, right, for better or for worse, yeah, things have gotten pretty worse. For richer or for poor, yeah, we're pretty poor. And he said, through sickness and health. And he said, he stopped and said, man, I haven't finished. And he went, he packed his bags, walked out of the door, got back to his house. When he walked in the door, he said his wife said to him, what are you doing here, you prig? And he said to her, I'm gonna be here. I'm not going anywhere. So either we can figure out how to make it work, how to deal with it, adjust, or we can sit here and we can just be miserable and mad because a situation has happened that's out of our control and we didn't expect it. Like, I believe in life, you got 2 separate people. You got champions, right? And they go through things in life that are self-inflicted. They bring it upon themselves, they get through it, they say, man, I got through it. And then you got warriors. Right? They walk outside, the wind hits them, knocks them down, they pick up their stuff, they adjust, and they get moving, and they deal with the adversity that they didn't expect. They set their perspective right, and they figure out a way to embrace it and add value to every environment that they go into and every person's life that they come in contact with.
Recreating you, and you have the power to do that. You can decide that you're going to change, that you're not going to be a wimp. You can decide that you're going to stand up to life. You can decide that I'm going to live each day as if it were my last. You have the power to make that decision. You can decide I'm going to work on myself and develop myself. I'm going to empower me. And all of these things that are happening to me right now, they're just temporary inconveniences. They're not stronger than I am. I'm in charge here. Next thing is separate what you do from who you are. That's what the guilt trap is about. See, a lot of folk won't let you forget what you used to do or what you have done, what mistakes you've made. All of us have made some mistakes in life. All of us have done some things that if we had them to do over again, we wouldn't do it again. A lot of things that if I had it to do over again, if I knew then what I know now, I would have done it differently. Well, it didn't happen that way. And that's what you call life. I didn't do it like that. Oh, you don't want me to live that down, huh? You want to keep on putting that in my face about what I did. Guess what? I'm not interested. That's what I did then. Won't do it today, so you are picking on an innocent man. Hello. So as you're in the process of reinventing your life, write a description of the kind of person that you want to be. What are the things that you must overcome? What qualities about your personality you know that you're going to have to change because those particular characteristics are liabilities to you? What are your assets? What are your strong points?
Your identity, your personal worth, the thoughts, concepts, and attitudes and beliefs you hold to be true about yourself are the thermostat of your life. They regulate everything. You have a money thermostat, a relationship thermostat, a fitness thermostat. And what happens in people's lives is they change the external results short term. No one's going to tell you this other than me. They start to change their conditions. I'm reading these books, I'm buying these properties, I've made a little bit of money. And your results begin to exceed. You start getting 85 and 90 degrees of results, but you didn't do the work to change your identity. You didn't change the thermostat your life is set at. And guess what starts to happen? I watch it over and over. You will thank me for this right here someday soon. The results get a little higher. They're 85. I closed a deal. I made a little money. I closed another one. I made a little money. I got this going. I've lost 20 pounds. Whatever it is. The results start to get higher than their set thermostat temperature. And guess what you do unconsciously? You don't even know you're doing it. You turn the air conditioner on of your life and you will cool it back down eventually to get it right back where you're comfy, 75 degrees. Same thing happens when it goes bad. You're broke. The water's turned off. The power's turned off. Your car gets repossessed. They dynamite your property. You find a way to turn the heater on and get it back. The key to life is not the knowledge you learn. You have to have that. Knowledge is not power if it's not applied. The key in life is changing that internal thermostat. And if you don't change that, listen to me. It'll seem coincidental. Yeah, something happened to the property. There was a bad rain. Construction costs went up. The market conditions changed. The interest rate went up. No. It's not coincidental. It's not. You cooled your life back down because you didn't do the work on who you are. The thing I have in my life is I associate with higher and higher identity people more and more and more in my life. That's what this group does for you. Begin to power of association. The people you associate with heat you up. If any of you that are religious, if you weren't fit, let's say you hung around someone in this room that's super fit and you were out of shape. You can't be around that person constantly and not start to eat differently, start to think differently. If you're a person of faith, and you're around someone who's a high thermostat temperature person of faith, you're around them all the time. You start to behave differently. If you're a man in the room and you start to hang around guys who are true to their wife and love their wife and are faithful to their wife and compliment their wife and hold their wife's hand, they do all that stuff. They date their wife. You can't help but change your thermostat. Same with money. You don't think Sylvester Stallone and Phil Knight and John Elway and Tony Robbins had an impact on me?
But most of all, success is making your life what you want it to be, considering all the possibilities, considering all the examples. What do you want for your life? That is the big question. Remember, success is not a set of standards from our culture, but rather a collection of personal values, clearly defined and ultimately achieved. Success is your better life for you, the design you give it, the dreams you accomplish. Making your life what you want it to be for you, that is success. One morning at breakfast, shortly after I met Mr. Shelf, he asked me if he could see my current list of goals. He said, "Let me see your list of goals, and let's go over them and talk about them. Maybe that's the best way I can help you right now." And I said, "I don't have a list." He said, "Well, is it out in the car or at home somewhere?" I said, "No, sir, I don't have a list anywhere." He said, "Well, young man, that's where we better start." Then he added, "If you don't have a list of your goals, I can guess your bank balance within a few $100s, which he did, and that got my attention. I said, "You mean that if I had a list of goals, that would change my bank balance?" He said, "Drastically." That day I became a student of how to set goals. And sure enough, when I learned how, my whole life changed. My income, my bank account, my personality, my lifestyle, my accomplishments.
So their lifelong dream is to have the restaurant experience, but their idea of the restaurant is based by what goes on in the front. And then they get hired, and now they're working in the back where there's pushing and shoving, and you find out who comes late and who you can't depend on. And so-and-so's real anointed, but they also are a liar, and they get on your nerves, and they're egotistical maniac. Can I be real up in here this morning? And they're like shocked and flabbergasted and saying, "Oh God, I'm gonna have to leave this ministry. I never thought in the world." Baby, you signed up for the restaurant, but we hired you in the kitchen. And I'm just wondering, have you hired your customers? Because they find those type of people sign on and they come on to have these grandiose spiritual extravaganzas. They want to have this moment. It's like people who move to your church because you were in a conference, because they think the conference goes on every Sunday. And then they come back a few Sundays and all them extra people are not there. Israel Houghton is not singing this morning. It's Claire Bell Wilson. And she just a skipping and a singing, and she can't sing worth jack, you know? And they say, "Where is Israel?" Israel is gone, baby.
If you know the road ahead, you have an incredible power called anticipation. Anticipation is the ultimate advantage. See, winners, leaders anticipate, losers react. The reason you get beat is you don't know where things are happening, so you're reacting. Reaction is always stressful. And yet so much of our life is predictable if we just were to study it, not be caught up in our day-to-day. It's predictable the challenges you're gonna have in your relationships, or with your kids, or with your body, or with your job, or with your economics, or with your mother-in-law or father-in-law. These are predictable. And if you would anticipate these things and put a strategy in place, you could take it all out and have the quality of life that you deserve. In business, it's everything. Those that anticipate, those that lead, and then there's those that follow. The followers are the reactionaries. So the more we can anticipate, and you can't anticipate and lead unless you first learn how to lead yourself at a different level. And so I love to have you just see that if you and I can start to take control of our focus, and we can start to take control of the meaning of our lives and make something that really the meaning that empowers us, because look, what's wrong is always available, isn't it? There's always an Ebola, a bird flu. There's always something that's going to kill the entire human race tomorrow on TV. And then there's your life. What's wrong is always available, and so is what's right. And you have to take control of that focus, because otherwise you become the follower and you get to live your life. Even though you're a smart person, we're all smart, but it's easy to get led astray by everybody else's focus, isn't it? And then all of a sudden let them create the meaning for us. And then all of a sudden we're settling for a life far less than what we desire or deserve. So my approach is really simple. My approach is to say, let's, you and I, just for a few little time we have here. By the way, this to me is a little time, a couple hours, 2.5 hours, I guess, at this stage. Because kind of the minimum length of seminar I do is 50 hours, 50. And you go, are you kidding me? I don't like to hear myself talk. I like to see people do things so often they build muscle, not just thoughts. And so one thing I'm going to ask you to do in a few minutes is we're going to go from this passive mode that you're in right now into full engagement. Because if you get fully engaged, it's amazing what you can accomplish and do. When you're partially engaged, you get a little bit of result. When you're disengaged, we all know what you get, nothing. And we live in a society where most of us are so overwhelmed. There's so much information. We're not having any problem with information. We're being drowning in information, but we're starving for wisdom. And so we got to separate it out. And so one way to separate it out is I'd like to talk to you about 3 things that can help you increase your performance and your life. Because what I'm obsessed by and have been for 37 years is what can increase performance for an individual or an organization. But also I'm equally obsessed about what's going to make somebody fulfilled. Because who's had this horrible experience? Who here has ever achieved your goal and then your brain said, is this all there is? Who's had this experience here? Say, I. And that's worse than failing. At least when you fail, your brain can say, I can figure this out and do it again a new way. But when you succeed and you're miserable, you're basically technically screwed.